This is the latest information. I got this from the National Weather Service. What we do know is a storm system is expected to impact the region this weekend. We definitely know that. We definitely know that cold Arctic air is going to be in place. This is going to favor mostly snow across our area, which is definitely some good news. You'll find out why here in just a second. Significant wintry precipitation is possible, and that obviously with snow being the primary precipitation type, anytime you have significant snow, we're talking about several inches of accumulation, right? Uh, Probably the biggest news out of all of it is we're going to be looking at some very cold temperatures next week. The team here at 0 Meter Chasers 100% back exactly what the National Weather Service is saying here. So this is kind of what we do know and what we don't know. Okay, what we do know, we are expected to see a winter storm Saturday and Sunday.
And I think that we're going to have some slick roadways when we get into the morning. And it's not about the amounts; it's about the impacts to travel that we're going to have on Wednesday. We are going to warm up as we get later into Wednesday mid morning. We're probably going to warm above freezing.
The ceiling is high. It does have the potential with all the moisture that is being supplied pretty much out of the Gulf of Mexico, driving in with that forcing in the lift along this baroclinic zone. We do have a lot of variables that we have to watch. High pressure, the amp, if the low does really form and generate itself to gather more strength.
We're going to start here with the winter storm watch that we talked about yesterday. I specifically stated that I thought the National Weather Service would pull the trigger on this today and go ahead and issue that winter storm watch 72 hours in advance. They are very confident, and so are we, that we are going to see a significant winter storm this weekend. So the National Weather Service pulled the trigger on this winter storm watch 72 hours in advance. So that is a big deal. So the entire state of Kentucky is under a winter storm watch. The entire state of Tennessee is also included with that winter storm watch. Tonight, tomorrow, even all the way throughout midday, even late day on Friday. This is not an accumulation map. This just shows a percentage that a particular location has of exceeding 8 inches of snow. I want to get to the point, let you guys see the different scenarios. So this is Saturday at noon. We are thinking sometime Saturday morning, say from 9 a.m. to Saturday afternoon around 3 p.m. That kind of gives you a 6-hour window, depending on how fast this moves in. This is Saturday at noon compared to the European model.
Of Kentucky, many in Tennessee, and this is going to be a very expansive and widespread winter storm as we have an Arctic air mass that is moving in the next couple of days, colliding with warm, moist air from the Gulf, and that's creating our classic overrunning scenario that we've been talking about for days here. We've been talking about the potential baroclinic zone that's been showing up on the ensemble data here for about the past week.
Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. This is night 4 of our live updates for our impending winter storm that's going to move across the region on Saturday into Sunday. And we've got a lot to talk about again tonight. The National Weather Service has pretty much issued a winter storm warning for the entire state, probably 4 to 7 inches across much of central Kentucky. And then you get up here, same scenario right along the West Kentucky Bluegrass Parkways and to the north. Ice amounts for that way less. We're looking at closer to a 1/4 inch. That's a lot more manageable than a 1/2 inch plus. And as long as we keep power, we're going to be giving you guys updates about every 2 hours, maybe even on the hour. We're going to be posting your pictures on here. We're going to have storm chasers in the field. We're going to have up to the date, the latest information, the latest radar feeds. We're going to be reporting information if there's any wrecks, how traffic looks here. We're going to be all systems go when this winter storm gets here. Preparedness, again, I shared this yesterday. Supplies, you just want to make sure you have water, and typically rule of thumb is you need 1 gallon of water per person per day for your home. Make sure you insulate your pipes, your windows.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here from Zero Meter Chasers. And as we have done here for the last couple of nights, we decided to fire up the Twitter Spaces tonight to kind of cover timing, totals, and impacts for our winter storm that is incoming to the Ohio Valley this weekend. The whole team here at Zero Meter Chasers have kind of been talking about this storm now for almost a week. There's been a lot of good lead time and preparation. We're almost about 48 hours from the start of impacts from this event. And I thought that it was a good time to kind of host this live and kind of talk about all the model data that we've been looking at here, not only tonight, but just for the last couple of days. We've been grinding over model data, I think, all of us on the Zero Meter Chasers team for the last 3 or 4 days. Just looking at every single one run, comparing runs to each other and kind of bouncing ideas. So it's a very complex setup, as we've kind of talked about in our live videos. Um, and we've kind of shown you guys all the uh, players that we have at play here as we get into this weekend. And we'll have Corey and Mike come on here and kind of talk about impacts in Southern Kentucky and Central Kentucky as well. And we'll cover Eastern, Western Kentucky, a little bit of Southern Indiana and Tennessee. Heather will come on here. Grayson will come on here as well and talk about some Tennessee impacts as we get into Sunday. Speaking on timing, to me it looks like mid morning looks like the timing, and we're going to saturate first in Southern Kentucky. Since our moisture is coming from the south, I think Southern Kentucky is going to be the first one to moisten and to kind of saturate the atmosphere enough to start seeing snowflakes fall. And that could happen as early as 10 or 11 o'clock Central Time. And I think that that will spread to the north as we go through the day on Saturday. So I would say by early afternoon for those in central and northern Kentucky, especially I think this first wave of snow, we're gonna talk about two different waves, and I think especially looking at the latest model data, it's really important to specify we're gonna have one wave early on Saturday, lasting through the day on Saturday. Maybe a brief pause overnight on Saturday, and then we're going to have a second, more stronger wave on Sunday. That I'm more worried about our sleet, freezing rain mix. Where that does that set up? I'm more worried about that heading into Saturday overnight into Sunday. The only thing that we have to battle, and again we've been talking about this for days now, is that dry air in the morning. We're going to be very dry. It's Arctic air, so it's going to be hard to saturate. But once we get it saturated, man, it's going to light up really fast. So that's kind of my thoughts on this system. I'm going to let Heather she's going to talk about Middle Tennessee, and then we'll go on to Corey after Heather.
Just kind of looking at all the models. Um, Looks like timing based on the wrap, HRRR, and such forth. Looks like the timing still stays about the same we were looking at. And as Chris mentioned, that there does seem to be on some models not depicting it currently on the HRRR on the 0Z run, but that dry slot that continues. The NAM 3K and such are showing it holding pretty well. What I have noticed now that the HRRR is in play, just noticing that it's still kind of all over the place um, in regards to where that freezing rain, snow, and sleet or all lines up. In the 20s, you're not going to get pouring rain. That's going to end up being freezing rain. Hopefully by tomorrow night, we have a more clear picture of how this is going to go. Going to see some snow. You're going to see some sleet. You're going to see some freezing rain if you're in Tennessee. I don't think that they're all completely agreeing on where it sets up.
Yeah, and I think Middle Tennessee's in a tough spot too, because I think that some of the models again are struggling with that lower, shallow level of Arctic air. Corey, if you kind of want to cover your thoughts here for Southern Central Kentucky, kind of your area.
Sure. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you. Thanks, Heather, for the insight on Tennessee there. But yeah, right now, I'm looking at the newest 0Z data that just came in. The NAM model, I just don't see. Uh, I don't see a lot of these areas changing over to rain. I just don't. And that's what it's showing on Sunday. It's showing a warmer system. And the low pressure is 1,003 millibars, 1,004 millibars. I don't see a low pressure system with 1,003 bringing that much warm air to where we change over to rain. I just don't see that. So there's definitely some voids in the data. You look at the Canadian that just came in, and it looks to be a tick south. It's been pretty consistent over the past couple runs, but it looks just a little bit south, at least on that first wave. You look at the snow map up here, and the northern part of Kentucky is definitely going to be it's going to have the higher snowfall totals, and like Chris said, along the Western Kentucky Bluegrass Parkways, that's going to be the kind of the target zone, and to the north. So between those parkways up to the Ohio River, southern Indiana, I think that's where we're going to get our higher snowfall totals. The ice is definitely a concern too, especially in southeastern Kentucky, the Lake Cumberland area. And the big thing that we're watching that nobody really knows is how far that warm air moves north. And it's going to be a battleground, and that's what makes forecasting so difficult here in Kentucky. Is 9 times out of 10, it's the battleground between the cold air and the warm air. 9 times out of 10, the warm air wins out. We don't want to see excessive amounts of ice by no means. Kind of like what Tennessee is going to see.
Mike, if you want to kind of cover your area, you're good to go.
This is a double barrel, 1-2 punch. If you have that colder air in place, if with the precipitation, it'll be that evaporational cooling as well. So it will help the snow pack to build up. And if we accumulate fast, that snowpack can help out with the second wave by early Sunday morning. If we have that snowpack, you'll have that low. What I don't know about Tennessee. I think Tennessee is either going to be more sleet and freezing rain potential. Southeastern Kentucky, right now, there is that higher end freezing rain chance. The surface map, ISO bars, kind of uh, more in a congruent state along toward the Cumberland Plateau. It's stretching out that way. Now, on the backside, you're starting to see that freezing rain potential out towards Somerset into London, farther west toward Lake Cumberland, even spreading into Bowling Green, Glasgow, Scottsville as well. And then I really don't have to talk much, as for the snow um, farther north of the Cumberland Parkway, because I really think that from the river, from the Ohio River down toward the parkways, I think it's going to be the best belt of seeing the moderate to heavy snowfall rates, 2 inches. If we see some convective nature, if the load does deepen into Tennessee, you're going to have some convective showers with thunder, sleet, snow, or thunder freezing rain. I'm not ruling that out if we see an amp low. Um, that's the good things that Friday is still up in the air, and we have more data to look at until we get like a best fine-tuned forecast.
Grayson, I'm not sure if you wanted to talk. If you do, just unmute your mic, man. You can come in here, say, talk about any of your thoughts.
Hey, sorry. Real quick, I just want to talk about the freezing rain threat in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now, I don't say this lightly. I would, at this point, I think if you're south of I-40 in Tennessee, freezing rain. I hate to say that, I really do. But I think that's your best bet as of now, because looking at it right now, the freezing rain threat could be crippling, honestly.
Possibly historic winter storm moving into the Ohio Valley. Cold weather advisory in effect. Wind chills could be as low as -10 tonight. Again, this is tonight into tomorrow morning. If you're out and about, I know not a lot of people's going to be out tonight, but if you're out, make sure you dress in layers. Temperatures are only going to get colder beyond tonight, so there will likely be cold weather advisories or extreme cold warnings in the coming days. This is something that we've talked about rather frequently here over the last couple of days. Here is the winter storm warning. Again, the entire state remains in this winter storm warning. Nothing's changed with that. Whole state of Tennessee is in a winter storm warning as well. with some ice storm warnings as well down here in Tennessee. Here is basically your headlines on that winter storm warning here in Kentucky. Basically, widespread heavy snowfall and ice accumulation is going to happen. Increasing potential for significant ice, especially in the southern part of Kentucky. Potential impacts, power outages, impassable or extremely hazardous roads, disruptions to other utilities, down trees, and power lines. Make sure you finish all preparations as soon as possible. Travel may become dangerous or impossible once the storm begins. I know there's still a lot of people out preparing for the storm. If you haven't prepared for the storm yet, please use the rest of this evening to do so. Saturday evening, you see the warmer air starting to make its way a little bit more toward the north. The purple is the sleet. It's just south of the Tennessee line. The pink is the freezing rain. It's basically right around the Nashville, Cookeville, Knoxville area and points to the south. We get into Saturday night. That warmer air makes it a little bit more towards the north. Again, this is the European model. We're still kind of watching to see how everything evolves. But this is Saturday around 9 p.m. That warmer air makes it a little bit more towards the north. This is Sunday midnight. And basically from Bowling Green to the south has changed over to freezing rain according to the European model. Last time we seen a winter storm last almost 2 days. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Preparedness. Again, we're running out of time to prepare for this winter storm. I don't think everybody realizes how serious this really is going to be. Looking at the temperatures for next week, Monday night, we're dropping into the negatives Monday night. We're going -6, -10 degrees, and that's air temperature. It's not wind chills. That's air temperature. Any questions? I think here's what I'll do. I'm going to pull up the snow amounts. I know a lot of people's going to ask how much for my location.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here from 0 Meter Chasers, and we have finally made it to the pre-day, the day before. We've had these live videos or these live spaces now for about three. I think this is the third straight night, and we've kind of watched the evolution of this crazy storm that's already impacting, Texas, Oklahoma, and places in Arkansas. And we finally gotten through all the crazy model swings that we've seen within the last couple weeks. And we finally gotten to a point where we can start fine tuning those finer details. It'll be our team here at 0 Meter Chasers, myself, Corey, and Mike, I think, are going to be talking tonight. We'll kind of cover all the areas in the state. Tomorrow is the day. All the preparations and anything that you needed done. Well, I know that everybody's been going crazy. Grocery stores are going crazy. But so to talk about timing, it looks like depending on where you're at in the state, the more south you go in the state, the earlier that we're going to get snow starting to fall as we get into the morning tomorrow morning. I think in my area, which is central Kentucky and Hardin County, I would expect snow around 11 a.m. We've talked about this for a long time as well, but we do have a lot of dry air in the morning. We're going to have to punch through that dry air. You guys can feel it outside. This is Arctic air that is moving in. We'll start getting some better snowfall rates as we get into the afternoon on Saturday. And I think that Saturday afternoon to Saturday evening is when we're really going to start seeing that snowfall accumulation. The latest data for Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening has hinted at along and south of I-64 as the best spots to see the most significant totals on Saturday, especially as you head into Saturday evening, Saturday night. I think, and I've said this for a while, I would even say a widespread 4 to 8 inches looks to fall for mostly everybody. I think if you're in South Kentucky, you really hope that this first wave that comes in is all snow. If you're in like along I-64, I would expect maybe in 2 to 4 inches. You might be on the lower end, especially as you get into southern Indiana. But your moisture is going to increase as we get to overnight on Saturday because we're finally getting that Baja low to eject, and that's going to create a stronger storm to come in here on Saturday. So we're going to get those widespread snow totals. Almost everybody's going to see widespread snow accumulation on Saturday. And then as we get to Sunday, we're going to get our second piece, a stronger piece, which introduces that warm nose. The Euro ensemble, almost every piece of data is showing it in the same area, but just little fine tuned details will determine where our snow to sleet to freezing rain line sets up, and wherever that sets up is where your amounts are going to happen. And honestly, when we're talking about south of the parkways, I think there's an opportunity where you could get significant freezing rain if we get a stronger warm nose on Sunday. After you get the snow on Saturday, let's make sure we're going to make snow lovers happy on Saturday because I think everybody's going to see snow on Saturday. But now we're going to move on to the second system on Sunday. I think south of the parkways, you're introducing the freezing rain and sleet scenario. And then when you get north, along and north of the parkways, that is the real wild card. Last thing that I'm looking at, and then I'm going to turn this over to Corey and kind of get his thoughts on the setup. If we get a strong warm nose, which is looking likely, we're going to get a stronger system on Sunday, so you'll get some sleet and freezing rain. If you can keep your precipitation rate, if it can be snowing really hard, you can kind of shunt that warm nose down a little bit. It's called diabatic cooling. It's just cooling down the atmosphere because you have precipitation falling so hard. It's saying, "No, warm nose, you can't get warm. We're not getting warm up here because it's falling so hard and bringing down cooler air." So that can change the significant snowfall accumulations a lot. So the sleet is going to be the big killer in the setup. I still really like along and north of the Western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkways for widespread 8 to 12 inches. And I do think we'll have a corridor of 12 to 18 inches set up somewhere in that corridor. Corey here and kind of get his thoughts. He's in the Greensburg area, so kind of central Kentucky, but he'll cover kind of everybody. So Corey, the floor is yours, brother.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you. Yeah, like you said, the biggest thing that we're watching is how far north does that warm nose make it, and each one of these models that we're looking at and have been looking at, they all kind of differ on how far north that comes, but they're all pretty much coming into a general solution. Definitely looks like everybody's going to see all snow. Some of the modeling data that we're looking at is laying down accumulations pretty much as soon as it's showing the precipitation moving in, when in reality, are we really going to have that accumulation right off the bat, or are we going to lose some of that because the atmosphere is so dry? I think there's a really realistic chance for sure with the first wave they stay all snow. Um, but then you get south of that, that's where you really get into the question marks. When that warm nose starts to make it north, how far north does it come? When do we change over from snow to sleet? Um, so snowfall ranges are really going to, it's going to be a large range in that area. So when we get into the Sunday system, the second wave, what are we looking like on freezing rain? How is it going to be layered? We're going to have snow and then freezing rain on top of that. How hazardous really is that? There's still a lot of variables at play, but I mean, overall, model data. I mean, I'm looking at the National Weather Service blend that legitimately just updated. The 1Z just came in, basically from the Cumberland Parkways to the West Kentucky Bluegrass Parkways. You're looking at 3 to 6 inches on the blend, which is pretty. I think that's a pretty good forecast. And then you go north of the West Kentucky Bluegrass Parkways is when you get into your bigger snow zones over 10 inches. So that still looks good on that. The ice on the National Weather Service blends continues to increase a little bit, nothing substantial. There's just still so many variables, and it could go so many different ways.
Mike is in Bowling Green. He's going to cover kind of southern Kentucky and more of the ice threat that we have with the system. So, yeah, Mike, take it away.
Right now, I am watching the relative humidity. How moist can we get our air mass to let precipitation form? And what we've been talking about is when will that initial wave of moisture, meaning snow, arrive in your neck of the woods? So, relative humidity, if you want snowfall for us tomorrow to get going, I want at least about good 80% relative humidity so that we can actually start seeing, flurries begin to fall. And right now, from the latest data, this is the 1Z HRRR, the relative humidity for Bowling Green is 62%. That's still quite dry in the atmosphere down to the surface. But if you go to the south into northern Middle Tennessee for Clarksville and Springfield, you get to the 70s. But the best rich moisture um, out is in Nashville, where it's almost saturated at 89%, and that's where you're starting to see the precipitation to fall from, out as snow. So that's at 1 o'clock. Um, Saturday afternoon. If you want snow here in southern Kentucky, it's kind of like a good thing that we're seeing the increase of precipitation out there. Freezing rain will be the issue for us, I think, as we get into your Sunday. I am for certain that we will see snow, then the transition likely will be into the form of sleet as we get into late Saturday night, into the early morning hours, into Sunday. Then I say pre dawn Sunday, temperatures will rise just a little bit more. And with that warm nose, HRRR was showing a little bit more aggressive approach with it as compared to what, yes, the NAM and the Euro was showing too. Meaning, I think that we're seeing a stronger band of moisture and dynamics working in. But all in all, it looks like your ice amounts could be approaching by half an inch in some spots up into Middle Tennessee, Bowling Green, maybe somewhere at least a quarter of an inch, even to eastern Kentucky for Lake Cumberland and southeastern Kentucky as well. So not as much with sleet, I think, but freezing rain could be the bigger issue.
Grayson is in Nashville, and he's actually coming up because we are going to chase this wherever the snow ban sets up on Sunday. We'll be in Kentucky on Saturday, and we're going to get into this heavy snow ban on Sundays.
I just wanted to talk real quick about Middle Tennessee. Like Mike was saying, we are a little more moist down here than they are up in Kentucky. So that meaning once the snow gets into our region about mid morning, around 9 to 10 a.m., it should start falling pretty quickly. But an hour or two, maybe 3 hours later, the southern portions of Middle Tennessee quickly transfer into sleet and freezing rain. Northern Middle Tennessee will transfer into sleet and freezing rain. And then as we get into the evening, you have that warm nose that will make its way into the eastern or east of I-65, and we do have a big shot at just plain rain east of I-65. So yeah, watch for that. West of I-65, I think that's your biggest freezing rain threat. You could be looking at well over zero point 0.5 inches of freezing rain, which is definitely crippling. It's something that we're going to watch. That will make its way into our region around, I'd say, 10 a.m.
Good morning / afternoon, depending on what time zone you are in. It's 12:36 Eastern, 11:36 Central. Wanted to jump in here and go ahead and give you guys the first live update for today. Want to go over the latest information, get you guys the updated forecast, the updated headlines for the winter storm warning for our winter storm that has just moved in to Kentucky and is really starting to get ramped up this morning. And we're going to be watching the radar real close for the remainder of the afternoon. He didn't see how the temperature at 20 some degrees would indicate freezing rain or sleet. He would think that the temperature at the surface would have to be longer. That's not true at all. The warm air that we're talking about is above us, way above us in the upper atmosphere. That's the warmer air that's making it north, not at the surface. So where you live, your house, your driveway, in your car, the area that you walk on, we're going to be pretty much below freezing almost the entire event. That's why this is going to be a big deal. It's the warm air at the surface. So right now, we are seeing all snow across all of Kentucky. That's when the column from the upper atmosphere to the surface is cold enough to support snow all the way down. Now, when that warmer air starts moving in, the snow melts into rain and then refreezes into these ice pellets as it's falling towards the surface. That's where you get sleet. You get a little bit more warmer air that moves in, the snow melts to rain, and it stays rain all the way to the surface, but the surface is in the 20s, 25 degrees. If the surface is below 32, you get a lot of that warmer air that moves in. The snow melts, it changes to rain, it freezes on contact all the way down to the Cumberland. It's still showing, according to the RAP model, anywhere between, say, 5 inches all the way up to a foot. So I would probably rather have this because I know the RAP model on the ice. Now I know it's QPF, so you can't really go off by what it's saying. I'm just gonna show you guys a couple pictures real quick. Roads are still pretty treacherous out there. This is from Hunter Yates. This is Broadway in Campbellsville. So obviously roads pretty snow covered, pretty hazardous out there. Those conditions are expected to remain hazardous during the overnight period and probably deteriorate even further as long as we get the ice that we are expecting to get. Another picture here. This is in Summersville. This is from Mr. Austin Booth, Highway 61, a little bit earlier when there was some snow showers flying around. Obviously, snow covered there as well. So, yeah, roads across the region continue to be treacherous. Here's a good picture from earlier. This is before the sun went down. This is in White Rose, Kentucky, Taylor County. Nice little nature picture. What we're looking at here on this radar site, okay? No matter how you cut the cake, no matter what your opinion is, this is 10 o'clock Central Time, okay? Pretty much all of Central Kentucky. We'll just be generous. Let's fast forward at 2 hours. This is midnight. So let's just assume everybody at midnight has changed over to freezing rain, which I do believe is going to happen. Morning, everyone. This is Corey here with 0 Meter Chasers. Going to give you guys an update. I know there's some disappointed people, some not so disappointed people, and that's okay. But I'm going to give you the latest information this morning. We still have that winter storm warning in effect through tomorrow morning. Now, the main reason for that, we're going to see the precipitation come to an end this afternoon. But the main reason that winter storm is going to be extended through tomorrow morning is for the overnight travel. A lot of people is going to be out. There'll be people trying to travel, so the National Weather Service will likely leave that winter storm warning in effect for highlights. So that way they can kind of highlight the treacherous travel during the overnight period and into rush hour tomorrow morning for the people that are traveling. Wednesday night, low temperatures below zero again into the negatives. We're looking on Thursday, high around 20. Thursday night, lows around 0. 20s on Friday, low around 0 Friday night. Actually, what I look like this morning when I realized that the forecast continues to change and I continue to get it wrong. This is me looking at the computer models as the forecast is wrong. The HRRR model, let me make sure it's updated. 15Z, and that is right. 10 o'clock a.m. So this is basically what the radar looks like right now, which is pretty similar. You look at the Green Taylor County area, that pink is right there about what I was talking about with that colder air coming in. We get into 11 o'clock. The HRRR model is expecting Green and Taylor County to transition back over to freezing rain. Winter storm warning remains in effect through Monday morning. And again, even though the precipitation is going to end this afternoon, the National Weather Service is more than likely going to leave this winter storm warning in effect through Monday morning, because the travel during the overnight period is going to be hazardous. The travel during tomorrow morning's typical rush hour is going to be hazardous.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here from 0 Meter Chasers, and as we usually do, I'm going to give everybody a second to kind of get loaded in here before we get started on anything. I'm hoping that the National Weather Service Louisville will update their graphic here, because you can see the pink that is firing out in western Kentucky. That is our winter storm warning that is getting issued for, it's going to be statewide. We'll have the winter storm warning statewide for over 4 inches of snow easily for many areas. Like I said, I'm going to give everybody just a second here to get in here before we get started. We're going to look at kind of all the model data here, what I've been looking at for really the past hour and a half, and then what I think is going to occur in the next 24 hours with data. And I will give like my thoughts on some snowfall accumulation as we get to kind of the end of the video. I don't know if the comments are working in here. I'm hoping, hold on, I'm trying to see if I can get these comments to work, because what I would like to do is any questions that we have, I would like to be able to answer them, but sometimes they don't populate when I go live on Twitter. So I'm hoping to handle that, but we'll go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to update this one more time. So we do have, let me go full screen and see if it's updated here. It is. So this is our full screen map here, and anywhere that you see the darker shades of blue, that's where your winter storm watch is. And then anywhere you see this widespread pink area here, those are your winter storm warnings that are being posted. Almost the whole state of Arkansas, other than one county right now, is under a winter storm warning. You have ice storm warnings getting posted in southern and middle Tennessee, in northern Mississippi, northeast Mississippi. And then you'll see all the winter storm watches here that are already posted in Kentucky. This will be pink by 6 hours. I think everybody in the state of Kentucky will be under that winter storm warning. When I look here, like I said, Paducah red, freezing rain signal, especially in Middle Tennessee. Don't want to forget Middle Tennessee, especially the Memphis area. I think southwest Middle Tennessee, right in this area, is going to get a really nasty and dangerous ice storm. But as we look up here, I think there is a growing signal for the possibility for some freezing rain as we get into southern Kentucky and the Cumberland Parkway. So that's something that I'm really seeing on the Euro as well. And it's just something. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here with 0 Meter Chasers with the special guest, Mr. Grayson Weather himself. So yes, we have finally got together. We've got all the things we need. We're currently just driving around in E-Town, kind of surveying the latest radar and looking at the road conditions here in E-Town and kind. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here from Kentucky Weather, and we have made it. The day is finally here. We've been tracking this winter storm for about over a week, well over a week, and we finally start to see snowfall widespread in Kentucky, like we've talked about, especially today. And that this snowfall is going to be widespread for the next 6 to 12 hours for many, as we do introduce those sleet and freezing rain into the picture tonight, into tomorrow. But when we look right now in E-Town, we're getting a more steadier rate of light snow. And something that you're going to notice, especially if you don't have any snow accumulation yet, is the roadways here and roadways everywhere are picking up this snow accumulation quicker than even the grassy surface areas are. So anything that falls, because we're so cold and the ground is so cold or the roads are so cold, is going to stick, and that's going to lead to some really hazardous travel conditions as we move into tonight, into tomorrow. This is the bad boy that we're rocking with for this winter storm. We are going to be chasing today. We're really going to ramp up really later tonight into overnight into Sunday. We're going to chase that wherever that heavy band of snow sets up north of the sleet line, which right now looks to be along I-64, has the potential to see close to 2 feet. And I don't just say that lightly, but there's going to be a dumping of snow somewhere, and right now that looks most favored, maybe Louisville, or maybe just points north of Louisville. But I do think that this is a widespread, significant winter storm for many. I think south of the parkways, we're going to deal with some ice threats, some icy weather. And then north of the parkways, we're dealing with freezing rain, or we're dealing with mostly snow and less freezing rain and sleet. I do think there'll be a narrow corridor where somebody could reach 2 to 3 inches of sleet by the time we end this system on Sunday, depending on exactly where that warm nose sets up. But we're going to be tracking exactly where that warm nose sets up, and we're going to be live with road conditions, especially as we get in here to Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. So again, I appreciate all the support. Make sure you have my notifications turned on, because we're going to go live in various parts of this event. I do want to mention before I get off here, though, that we do have thunder sleet or thunder snow potential as we get into overnight on Saturday into Sunday. I think it's a real possibility where you get the heavier snowfall rates and then where that heavy band sets up. So, make sure to turn on the notifications if you want to hear some thunder snow maybe tomorrow. But it's very cold out here, so I'm going to get back in the truck. But like I said, we're going to have live winter storm updates throughout this event in central Kentucky and northern Kentucky. And if you have any plans or anything that you need to get done, that you need to be getting home around now, because you're going to get some lighter snow for the first couple of hours, and then really as we get into this afternoon, the roads are going to become very treacherous as we get multiple inches stacking up and accumulating on top of each other. So that's your update from E-Town. Like I said, we're going to have live updates throughout the night. Grayson is in the car. It's a little too cold out here for him. He's not a real warrior like I am. So, but Grayson will be live with us too as well. So Grayson_WX. Make sure you follow him, and I appreciate all the support, and I hope everybody gets the snow.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Mike Sills with you from 0 Meter Chasers, giving you an update just before as we go into the transition zone from some nice banding of snowfall here in southern Kentucky, then leading into the sleet and the freezing rain. You can see, if you can try to see, nice little snowflakes, little dendrites are falling down into the sky. I just checked my snowboard. It's just about a hair under 2 inches here, and we'll probably have another about hour or so of good, decent snowfall rates here across Bowling Green, southern Warren County. So we're going to be watching that. The roads out here across the county are snow covered, packed, hardly any traffic is all across the region. So that's a good thing. So people are staying home, they're staying safe, they're warm. if you do have to muster out, please be careful. Allow enough distance between you and the cars that behind you and in front of you as well, because there are some out there that just think that they can do it. But I do want to say that as we transition into, all right, here you go, guys. So as we get into the freezing rain, we're going to be watching that sleet transition for the next couple of hours. As we roll into the evening hours, we'll be seeing that warm nose effect coming in across Middle Tennessee and South Central Kentucky, creating that nice, it's going to be like a warming trend of some rain. It's going to be freezing as well. And as what you have seen from the high resolution and the National Weather Service and from us at 0 meter chasers, about a half an inch of ice is really possible in some isolated spots. If you gather more moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, don't be surprised if 3/4 of an inch of ice cannot rule out in some spots, maybe around Lake Cumberland region, Somerset, Jamestown, to the west around Albany, and even here closer, farther off to the west of that into I-65 corridor, down into Nashville, up into Portland, Franklin, Bowling Green as well. That's going to be your main concentration along the Cumberland Parkway off to the east for your Sunday afternoon, with the heavier pockets of seeing the freezing rain. If you don't want to see a steady rainfall of the freezing rain, because it will accumulate fast onto the power lines, and that will increase your threat of power outages. It's going to be downright cold. The winds will be picking up at times about 10 to 15 miles per hour sustained on the backside, coming in with the northwest flow. Bitter cold air on the backside for several days to come. You can see my coat is already accumulating. Crazy. We haven't seen snow like this in a while, so it's kind of good to see it. I don't think we're going to be seeing that 6 inches of snowfall that we were hoping for. So the streak will continue for the lackluster amount of snowfall across Bowling Green. We haven't seen 6 inches of snowfall or more since 2022. So it's been a long streak. But I also want to think that the transition of that warm nodes going up to the north could cut down on the amounts of snowfall up for the parkways, and that will kind of reduce the chance of seeing that foot or snow for maybe around from E-Town up toward Lexington. So the better foot plus will be just along the river into Louisville, along the I-71 corridor, maybe off to the south and east as well. It just depends on how far north that warm nose will settle with that sleet band for your Sunday. But overall, a very large winter storm has affected all across from New Mexico to West Texas, all the way to the East Coast. I think the last state that has not been in a winter storm warning yet is Maine. So a chunk of real estate all across the eastern seaboard. It's been kind of a nice storm that we have been tracking. It's exhausting, but on the end product, this is what I like. It's steady, it's light. The winds have kind of calmed down just a little bit here, but then we'll start to see the transition take place. But that's all I have to say, guys. Everyone else, if y'all have any more snow reports, please feel free to chime in. Let us know how much you got. Tag them at the 0 meter chasers as well, and we'll report them to the National Weather Service in Nashville or Louisville or Paducah, wherever you are. We deeply appreciate that. Stay off the roads unless you have to do that. Stay warm. That's where it's all dry. Get some comfort food in, because it's gonna be cold for the next several days to come. You all take care, and y'all have a blessed afternoon. Bye-bye.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here from Kentucky Weather, and it is finally starting to let loose here in E-Town. We've got a pocket of moderate snow here that has developed right along the Western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkways, and What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans and Grayson here, back live after we had to get somebody out of a ditch. We got him out. We pushed him out. We have seen now nearly six accidents within the last 30 minutes here in Hardin County. So the roads are getting very treacherous. The plows cannot keep up with this snow, especially, so it's really starting to pile up on the roadways. And if you don't have four-wheel drive and you get in the heavier snow bands,
Yeah, you get to see the swaying of the branches falling.